Hello everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Claire Jones of Your One Life Weight Loss Solutions. Welcome to my live session. Most of you, I think, probably know that I do these every couple of weeks. I try to do them every fortnight, just try and get into a routine. But I think it's been 3 weeks since the last one because last week was a bit busy for me, so I couldn't do it last week. I'm just checking. Bear with me that I am actually live and that it is working. So if you are there, please tell me if you're there, and if you can give me a thumbs up or something so that I know that you're there. Or I can see 2 people watching me. Don't know who you are though, so if you can perhaps give me a thumbs up, put something. Rebecca Cook. Hi Rebecca. Hi. I think there's somebody else there. So everything seems to be working. So welcome. Glad that you could make it. Obviously, I know there'll be some people will be watching this on catch up, and that's absolutely fine. So if you are watching on catch up, please put #replay in the comments, because what that does is it then helps other people who were wanting to watch for it to pop up into their news feed, so they'll know that it's there and they can come and watch. So do say hello and do obviously join in as much as you can. Hi David, happy birthday. Hope you're having a good day. Haven't had too much cake just yet. Plenty of time though. So are you doing anything nice? Can you put in the comments what you're up to? I'll wait and see if there's anybody else joining. So just give it a few more minutes before I get started properly, because I want to make sure that everybody is going to be able to join in who wants to. Okay, just give it a couple more minutes. Can you all still see me all right? I can't tell. I don't know if it's working or not. But I am going to record this session, so if it doesn't work on Facebook, even if I am just talking to myself, then hi Minnows, then at least I've got a backup. So I'm going to start recording now before I forget. So welcome everybody who's tuning in live, and for anyone who's watching on catch up, please put #replay if you're watching in catch up, and obviously thumbs up or a comment or anything if you are watching live. Great to see you. So what I'm going to be talking about tonight is a subject that I think many of us battle with. And I've just realised I'm looking very, very pink on the screen because I've not long got back from a run. So excuse the state of me. But never mind. So what we're going to talk about tonight is managing weekends, because this is something that I think gets in the way of many people's progress, and it always used to be a really big issue for me. And those in the members club will know that this is something that it is. I wouldn't say it's an issue for me, because when I'm managing my weight, I'm staying the same, which most of the time I am. Then it just gives me a nice balance. I always weigh less in the middle of the week and I weigh more over the weekend, because I just eat a bit more at the weekend, and then it all balances out and everything's fine. But that's not fine. Obviously, when we're trying to lose weight, that's a whole completely different ball game, and it really does get in the way of our progress, because we might be really good during the week, and then the weekend comes and we end up undoing all our work, and then we start the whole thing all over again. So I've put together a blog. So in the usual fashion that I do, for those of you who've not seen this before, what I do is I tend to ask the group what they would like me to focus on in the next live session. And then I go away and I write a blog, and then I talk through the blog, and then I share the blog so that everybody's got the information that you can go away and hopefully put into practice if it's relevant to you. So I'm going to share my screen, which is why I'm streaming through from Zoom, because then that enables me to share my screen with you so you can see what I see when I talk through the blog. So bear with me while I just do that. Okay, so just going to share my screen, and hopefully you can see my blog page. So this is my website, and to find the blog, basically, if you were to arrive on my homepage, which is this page here, you would then go to Knowledge Centre, just find the drop down menu and then click on blog. If you're on the phone, then I think you have to click on it, and then the list comes up, and then you can click on the blog. It will take you through to the blog, and then here is where you can find all of the things that I've talked about previously, some of which I have actually linked in this blog because some of them are relevant for further reading. But what we're going to talk about tonight is this one. So don't let the weekend be your weekend. And those of you who know me know that I share this message very regularly because of the weekend being so damaging potentially to our progress. And I think it's always easy to kind of, let our hair down just a little bit too much when it comes to the weekend. So this is all about how to stop that from happening. So not too long tonight, I hope. So as I say at the beginning, this is a subject that is very close to my heart because it is something that I've always had issues with. And so I post this message, don't let the weekend be a weekend, not just for my audience, but also for myself. It's always a good reminder for me that, it's important for me to stay on track and to not have a big blowout at the weekend. There's nothing wrong with enjoying myself, but there's only so far I can take it before it starts to become a problem. And that's obviously what I want to avoid. So these days, as I said a short while ago, weekends aren't really too much of a problem for me unless I am trying to lose a few pounds, in which case then I have to stay very focused. So they used to be, as I say, a big issue for me and would really get in the way of my progress. But I know that, this is not just an issue for me, it's an issue for many people. And indeed, I posted in the group this morning, tell me what your biggest issues are with the weekend. And so a few of you came back with some very helpful comments, which I've been able to incorporate into this. I haven't put your names, but I can if you would like me to, but that's not a problem to keep it anonymous. And so the sorts of things that came back were social life, getting invited for food and drinks. Absolutely, that is a big one. It doesn't matter, what you might have planned. If you suddenly get that invite out of the blue, if it's something that you want to do, then obviously, it's going to be tempting. Excuse me, I just must have a swig of tea. Or we might be tired from the week and have a desire not to, or a lack of ability to make the tough choices. And again, that is, when it comes to the weekend, if you've had a really busy week and you just think, I just want to sit down, open a bottle of wine and, get the munchies out, order a takeaway, or, whatever your go-to thing is, and the last thing you want to think about is diet and, I can't have this and I can't have that. We end up just taking the path of least resistance, don't we? And then someone else has put, obviously being a shift worker, so they don't have weekends as such, but they do have obviously days off where they have no routine. And so during the days when they're working, they have a set menu, can only eat at certain times. And there's no time for snacking, but with days off, obviously snacking is so much easier to do. And obviously the unhealthy choices are very tempting, and it's very easy to reward ourselves with things like drinks because we haven't got to get up early the next day. So very, very common. Feeling of changing the rhythm from week to weekend and wanting to indulge. Absolutely. And boredom, no routine, being lazy and not doing the preparation. And again, it's important that we do take time out to relax and do let our hair down a bit, but it's about how do we do that in such a way that doesn't ruin our progress, because that is the conundrum, isn't it? It's trying to get the balance right. So my own experience over the years was very, very similar to this, and I can relate to all of those, as I'm sure many of you can as well. So it might be more than one of those things, and obviously it's important to be able to relax on our days off, and that does, unfortunately, when it comes to trying to lose weight, include relaxing our resolve. And then what we tend to do when we are feeling stressed, tired, hungry, upset, or even happy, wanting to celebrate something, we tend to go for the path of least resistance, which is obviously our usual behaviour. And do the things that we want to do. We want to relax, we want to open the bottle of wine, we want to have the pizza, we want to do all of those things, but we also want to lose weight, don't we? So it's a big conflict, really big conflict. So how do we manage that? So obviously, if we're not trying to lose weight, it's not an issue, is it? If the rest of the week is okay and our weight is stable, then having a bit more at the weekend is no problem. But when we're trying to lose weight, it can have a massive impact, and it'll either stop us from making progress, or we can even end up going the other way and putting weight on, which is obviously definitely not what we want to do. And it is so easy in the moment to do what's easiest and or the most enjoyable, and then allow what we feel in that moment to override that desire to lose weight. And then, of course, my very familiar pattern was, one thing would lead to another, and then, I'd end up stuffing my face, completely wipe out my calorie deficit and think, sod it, don't care. And then just letting rip. And then Monday would come and I'd just be filled with this, enormous guilt, and anger with myself and frustration, and just thinking, God, I'm so useless at this. I can't lose weight. I'm never going to be able to do this. Right, that's it. I'm just going to starve myself for the rest of the week, to undo all the damage. And then, I'd get halfway through the week and fail miserably, and then the whole cycle would repeat itself over and over again. So sort of that kind of boom and bust behaviour. And I call it the Monday diet. Yeah, I'll start on Monday. There's no point trying to change anything till Monday. I'll do it on Monday. And then I end up putting on 2 stone, more than 2 stone, over a period of a few months doing that. Yeah, not a good healthy way of eating at all. And I know that, I'm not alone in experiencing that. Oh yeah, pizza. Nice pun. What did I say? I can't remember what I said now. You'll have to tell me in a minute. My nose, you have to remind me. So what is absolutely true with all of these things is that the results that we get are directly linked to our behaviour. There is no getting away from that. And we also do have a choice about how we behave. So we can either carry on doing all of those things that we do over the weekend, and along with that, we have to accept, therefore, that we are not going to make progress. That it really is as simple as that. Or we can make different decisions and take different actions. And what it actually boils down to, when we really think about it, is what's most important to us. So if losing weight is the most important thing, then we will find a way to do it. If it's not, and other things are more important, then we won't change. We have to make that decision whether we want to change enough so that we can find a way. It's that old adage, isn't it? If we want something enough, we'll find a way. If we don't, we'll find an excuse. And it's the same with the weekends. So if losing weight is important enough to you, you will find a way. So, but what way is it? So assuming, okay, I'm going to make a big assumption here that we do want to make progress and lose weight. So the next thing that we need to consider is, well, how much weight do we want to lose, and how quickly do we want to lose it? Obviously, the faster we want to lose weight, the more strict we're going to have to be. And that means less room for playing about at the weekends. Yeah. And if we don't want to be too strict, then we have to accept that our results will be achieved more slowly. It is as simple as that, because we can't have our cake and eat it, unfortunately. Or we kind of can, but only small pieces, put it that way. So the good news, however, obviously, if we're taking the slower path, the good news is that we do have a bit more room to enjoy the weekend and not end up feeling so deprived. So when we do get those weekends, weekend, yes, absolutely. I love that phrase. I use it regularly. So yes. So where was I? Yeah. So we have more room to play with at the weekends, and if we do get that invite out to socialise, or we want to get the takeaway, we want to open a bottle of wine, we've got that room for manoeuvre. Whereas if we're trying to be really, really strict, we don't, and then it's harder, especially if weekends are an issue. We've got to be realistic here about what we can do. So, so the good news is that we can, if we're taking the slow path, have a bit more room to enjoy the weekend and make some compromises and trade-offs. So it's really sort of thinking about, okay, so if I want to have the pizza and the wine at the weekend, what do I have to not do in order to still be in a calorie deficit and lose the weight? That's kind of what it boils down to. So can you tell me, can you still see me, everybody? I'm not sure if I'm still broadcasting. Can you still see me? Can anybody give me a wave? Sorry, I just want to make sure that it's still working. If it's not, I'll carry on talking and post it in at the end. So yeah, good, excellent, thank you. Okay, so carrying on then. So yeah, so we can make some compromises. So if we want to have the bottle of wine and the pizza, then what do we have to not do in order to maintain the calorie deficit? And when we do that, we're more likely to be able to achieve progress in the long run. And we can get away from this horrible boom and bust cycle of this all or nothing thinking, you know, having to, you know, tighten the reins too tightly and then ended up letting them go and then just, you know, blowing it all. And then obviously what goes along with that is the horrible feelings of guilt and failure, which obviously are so unhelpful. And, you know, we want to avoid feeling like that and being able to, you know, lose weight in a way that doesn't feel like torture, you know, because it really doesn't have to. It really doesn't. So, and the other thing I think is really, really important to bear in mind is that, you know, we don't have to always do it in the same way all the time. So, you know, you might have one weekend where you kind of, you know, there's something big happening and, you know, you want to be able to enjoy yourself a little bit more. So that may be that either that week you accept that you may not lose weight that week because you want to be able to enjoy the weekend, or you do cut back more during the week to be able to give you that that leeway for the weekend, so that over the course of the week you're still in a calorie deficit. Or, you know, equally you could have a week where you just have the same thing every day and like the weekend almost doesn't exist, so that you can maintain some consistency. And, you know, different things work for different people at different times. You know, we don't always have to do the same thing. So it is key, though, that obviously we take control of our behaviour. And that means deciding in advance what we're going to do. Because if we leave everything to the last minute, we will take the path of least resistance. We will just do what feels easiest, what we feel like we want to do in the moment. Whereas if we have taken the time to plan in advance how we're going to deal with the situations that we're facing, we are much more likely to stay on track. However, we do have to be realistic, not idealistic. So there is absolutely no point in setting ourselves up for something that we can't achieve, that we're just it's not going to happen. Our goals have to be in line with what's possible in our lives, and our behaviour has to be in line with our goals. So there is no point saying, right, I'm going to stick to 1,000 calories a day and I'm not going to ever eat out, when you know the reality is that that is never going to be achievable for you. So, you know, is it better to say, I'm going to stick to 1,600 calories a day and allow myself once a week where I can have a little bit more, so that I don't end up overeating undereating and overeating? It balances out. So, you know, it's about what's realistic, not idealistic. So we have to accept, if we want to get control over the weekends, we have to accept that we need to do some planning ahead, because otherwise we will just keep repeating the same behaviours. And I like to think of it that it's about saving ourselves from ourselves. So if you think about, you know, what you know are your danger points, then it's about being prepared for them. So you know, we're not going to change anything in the moment unless we make it easier for ourselves to do the things that are in support of our goals and are not taking us away from our goals. So how do we do that is the $1 million question, isn't it? How do we make ourselves want the weight loss more than the takeaway or the bottle of wine or the pizza or whatever? So the answer to that is, you know, really examining for yourself, you know, what it is that trips you up. So, you know, we know that it's things like being tired, you know, thinking about the answers that came out this morning as I was putting this together, you know, being tired, wanting to relax and not have to think too hard about what to do, not planning ahead, not having a routine, being invited out for drinks. So we need to have a strategy in advance of that, that we can swing into action when the moment strikes, so that when we get asked out for the drinks, or we get tempted with the takeaway or the snacks or the wine, we do something different. We don't do the same as we did before. Okay, so yeah, that sounds easier said than done, isn't it? So, oh no, you know, it's all very well you'd say that, but you know, I can't. I try and I can't seem to do it. But the problem, as I see it, is that whilst we know what we want to do, and we might spend lots of time doing exercise, we don't, generally speaking, work very much on our mindset. We work on our bodies, but we don't work on our minds. And it's that is the key to making changes. So if we take the time to work on our mind as well, just as much, if not harder, than how we work our bodies, it just isn't going to change anything. So that, as far as I am concerned, in terms of my own experience and the experience that my clients get, is when we really, really focus on what it is that we want and we tap into that regularly, daily, we gradually change what we want. Because then what happens is, when the moment strikes and we are tempted with the pizza and the bottle of wine and everything, we are able to say, actually, no, I don't want those things. I want to lose weight. So I'm either going to have a small amount or I'm going to not have it at all. Obviously, you know, different situations will require different responses. But ultimately, that is what makes the difference. If we're not working on our mindset, nothing is going to change. So, you know, the really key point here is working on the mindset and being planning and being prepared for the weekend. That is what makes the difference. So just by taking 5 or 10 minutes out a day to really think about what's most important, why is it that you want to lose weight? What difference is that going to make to your life? Really, really feel it, really imagine it. Imagine, you know, that your future self as you want to be, and what did that future self have to do in order to get those results. And that will help you to start to be more resistant to all of those temptations. And it won't feel like a battle because you'll want to resist it. You won't want to be fighting yourself because you want the weight loss more than you want to have the wine or the takeaway or the snacks. So it's not saying you can't have them, but it's about being you know, in balance so that it doesn't end up being, you know, you going overboard. And, you know, I should probably mention here about, obviously, I haven't really talked about it in the blog, but obviously it's in some of the other blogs, is about, obviously, you know, how we eat. So, you know, if we're having those things that we want at the weekends within reason, but we're eating them slowly and we're listening to our bodies and we're not eating when we're not hungry, all of those things will help in terms of managing how much we have over the weekend. So that is really, really key. And one of the things that I do, and this is what I put in the picture at the top of the blog, which is, you know, this is me sitting and thinking about my takeaway, because we always have a takeaway at the weekend, and thinking, yeah, but, you know, I really want to be able to you know, get faster in my running. And if I want to get faster in my running and I want to lose a couple of pounds, which is something that I've decided recently that I want to do, then, you know, I've got to be sensible about what I have as far as the takeaway is concerned. You know, I can't have both. I've got to make a compromise here. So that is, yeah, have a takeaway, but choose the healthiest choice that I can, and in the least quantity that I can, so I can still enjoy it, but without overindulging. You know, that's that compromise, that's that balance. And, you know, it's keeping my vision of me being able to run faster in my mind. That's what's important to me. So it's thinking about what is important to you, that will help you to make that right decision. But if you're not thinking about it regularly, then you're not going to remember it when it matters. And when it matters is when you're faced with those temptations. So that really is key. So where was I? So I love my running. And so the other thing that is really helpful is in our environment. Look around your environment. Is there anything in your environment that is in support of your goals? Now, I just have to look over my shoulder and I see all my medals. They're there for a reason. They're there to remind me that this is important to me. So what is around you in your environment that you can put up that is going to give you subliminal messaging all of the time to remind you of what's important to you? The more you can do of that, again, the easier it becomes to get into that right mindset of wanting to stay on track over the weekend. Because ultimately it comes down to what we want. We will do what we want. So or you could keep a journal, and explore, what's going on for you, and start to pick up on the trends, so you can start to build, your strategy about how you're going to manage certain things. What's the screensaver on your phone? Do you spend time looking for images on the internet that are supporting your goals? Do you have a house full of temptations that are easy to grab? Can you put them out of your sight? Can you put barriers in the way? Can you get rid of them? If so I'd see the first line of defense is not to have them in the house at all. Second line of defense is making sure they're out of sight. Third line of defense is putting them in a, perhaps a Tupperware container at the back of the cupboard behind loads of other things. So, the more steps you have to go through to actually get there. So Claire commenting, I'm just looking at the comments, but not all of them are showing to me. But hopefully I'll pick up on them later. If I don't answer your comments while I'm live, I will promise I will go back and look at them afterwards. So don't worry, I won't miss anything. So that is so important. The environment that you've got around you, and talking to family and friends. Are they in support of what you're trying to do? It's about getting them on side, and explaining to them why this is so important to you, so that they can really help you and not get in your way. Like my husband, he loves the takeaway, and he's always trying to ask, he wants me to perhaps have the takeaway that he wants to have, and I say, yeah, but I'd like to have this because it's healthier, and we end up often compromising, and that's okay, because he knows that what's important to me, I know what's important to him, and we support each other with our goals, and that is so important. Then obviously, after we've worked on the mindset and we've considered our environment, we need to think about actually the practicalities of what is coming up in your life. So if the weekend coming up is going to involve lots of things that you don't want to miss out on, then you don't need to miss out on them. It's about how can you make those compromises so that you can have what you want within reason, that doesn't end up taking you over your, taking you out of your calorie deficit. So, if you imagine that, we've got a specific amount of calories over the course of the week, and you consider that your bank account, whether you're counting them or not is neither here nor there. But the fact is, if we want to lose weight, we need to have a calorie deficit. And obviously, it's then up to us to decide, if we've got that amount of calories in the bank, how we spend them. So if we want to have more over the weekend, then that means we spend less during the week. And so which means that we can obviously have a bit more to play with at the weekends. But that doesn't mean going completely mad at the weekend. That just means having a little bit more, but without going overboard. And this is where I know, those of you who've been following me for a while know that I do appreciate the value of counting calories, because it really does give us some great information about what we're doing. So it's like, if you're trying to balance your midweek and your weekend, but you don't really know how much you're having, it is really like kind of a guesswork. And, sometimes you might get it right, sometimes you might not. And the issue is that takeaway food and restaurant food are really surprisingly high in calories. Even if you think you're having small portions, you could still be wiping out your calorie deficit. So being able to count up what you're having and know where you can make your compromises, the more information you've got, the easier it becomes to make those choices. So if you think about it as, you know, if this is important to you, are you prepared to put in the effort that's required to get you the results that you want? And putting the effort into doing a bit of calorie counting, food logging, can really make the difference between success and failure. And I know the members club, we had a little weekend challenge last weekend, and those that took part, you know, we were all, you know, we all did well because we kept such a close eye on what was going in, and we all agreed that we had the best weekend that we'd had in ages because of that. It really, really does make a difference. However, if you have a weekend where, you know, nothing's going on and there's no different really to the rest of the week, then you could simply just pretend it doesn't exist as far as food and drink is concerned, and just carry on as normal. That can also be quite helpful, and that's a strategy that's worked for me in the past, where I have literally just not considered the weekend to even exist, and then it wasn't an issue, and actually became very easy. So that is something else that could potentially work. I'm not suggesting you do that every single weekend, but it could work for you some weekends. So just something to think about. And there are some really, really good recipes and at a website called pinchofnom.com, where they're lower in calories but very tasty. So you could still, you know, have lots of nice treats at the weekend potentially, but without necessarily having more calories. It's about perhaps, again, being prepared, doing some research, seeing what you like, and experimenting and finding what works. But it's so important to get away from this awful kind of like boom and bust cycle, because that is what really does the damage, I think, to our kind of psychological well-being when it comes to trying to lose weight. So the bottom line is the 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance, which is, you know, it's been around for a long time, and it is true in pretty much anything we do, and how we eat isn't really any different. And obviously, if we're not trying to lose weight and we don't have issues with our weight, it's no problem. But if we do, then this obviously becomes very, very relevant. So that's really what I would say is, you know, something to remember, maybe something to put on your vision board if you have one. And obviously, just in terms of everything that I've talked about in this article, the same principles apply if we're just trying to maintain our weight, but it just means that we have a little bit more leeway. And there are some more details in some of the other blogs that I've written. So I've written one on motivation. So, you know, if you're feeling like, you know, all of this is great, but, you know, you're not necessarily feeling the drive to actually do it, and you're not sure how to work on your motivation, then you might want to read that. There's also one that I wrote about takeaways, which was about, you know, the hidden calories that are in the takeaways and just sort of being aware of them. There's one I've done on snacking. So if weekend snacking is an issue for you, you might want to read that one. There's an emotional eating one. So if you're eating from emotional reasons, whether that be boredom or stress or sadness or or even celebration, again, that's something to read. And then the whole kind of like, you know, what it's all about, you know, calorie deficit and how weight loss actually works. Then I've got a blog there, which I have to say is rather a long one, but it's well worth a read if you want to know a bit more about the ins and outs of how it all works and why a calorie deficit is really so important. You know, there's no getting away from it. Yes, it's important that we have good quality food, and obviously eating good quality food isn't just good for our health, but it makes our calories go further, which means it becomes easier to stick to a lower calorie diet. But you know, it is the calorie deficit that is key to losing weight. So do have a look at all of those. And then of course I do have my books, and I just thought, because it's brand new out in paperback, I've got to wave it around in front of you, because there it is. So that is available on my website, where you can buy it through Amazon by going to my website or going directly to Amazon. And that is all about how to eat less without going on a diet. And then I've got my Preparing for Successful Weight Loss one, which goes into all of the mindset stuff, which obviously I do talk about from time to time. So thank you very much for joining me. Obviously, if our weekends are an issue for you, and you want to tell us a bit more about the issues that you have, and we can get a bit of a discussion going, then do feel free to share. We'd love to hear from you. And obviously, if you have any questions on any of what I've talked about tonight, do please post them in the group. I'm more than happy to obviously talk further on all of this stuff. It's my favourite subject, as you know. So have a good evening, everybody. And the next session is going to be in 2 weeks' time. We don't have a topic at the moment, so I will post a poll in the group, and then we can you can let me know what you want me to talk about next, and I will see you then.